30,000 is a good ballpark figure, but
For total price.
It could be a little less, it could be a little more.
So it's the kind of thing, if we had a little extra in the budget, we could put maybe 3,000 or 4,000 aside this year.
When I get the expedition paid off,
Yeah.
and we can drop that 10,000 down to 7 or 6, maybe we can take that 4,000 and put towards the jaws or something with a couple extra dollars here and there.
Okay. So 30 would be the whole price tag.
Yes.
Possible.
I just wanted to make sure that wasn't a like 30 a year for.
No, that would
Okay.
be the give or take a few bucks. That would be the total price of the new set.
Got it.
Okay.
Not something I shop for at Meyer, so I'm not real familiar with the price.
I haven't shopped for one in my tenure yet either. So.
Yeah. It's coming down the road. We'll have to be definitely looking at that.
Is there a chance that what we have now would fail?
No, it won't fail. It's just the older set may not cut
All the
what we wanted to cut at the time it needs to be cut. So we'll have to set back, reconnoiter, and approach the vehicle at a different angle. Maybe instead of cutting the A post, we cut the B post, which is where the door latches, where the door shuts. You know, we can get into a vehicle. It's just that as years go on, the metal in them get tougher.
They're upgrading the steel in those vehicles for crash protection, and the cutters are harder to cut.
Some of this new metal in some of these cars are called boron metal.
Yeah.
And it's like cutting cement with a hacksaw. It'll do it, but
Is there any grants available for this kind of thing?
there's grants available, and as they come to the service, we've been applying for them. In fact, we just applied for a grant for some new stuff in this last grant. And we're still waiting to hear on one of the other grants, the wildland firefighting, where we can get some stuff for our brush truck. It's a small grant, but it's like 5%, I think we have to match or something like that. I don't remember the exact.
That's the kind of thing too. Over time, the community might, spaghetti dinner and car wash it for.
Well, that kind of stuff, but as the grants become available, we've been applying for them.
Sure. I know. I think Dave Barnes was saying he's like 3 for 3. So yeah, no, the fire department's been awesome at getting grants.
We lost the last couple for the smoke detectors, but we have not given up on that by no means yet. So.
Okay. Do you have anything more?
No, that's all I had on that.
So that was just like a wish list and things that we had discussed, it's not actually in the budget.
Right.
Right.
These are things that are not.
Right.
These are things that you brought up for meetings saying, maybe in the next budget year. They are not included in the current budget that I had given you.
Okay.
But they were things that had been mentioned. So I wanted to just
And if
put it out there.
money were to fall from the sky, they might be the next things in line.
Grant writing software, did that make money fall from the sky?
We found $1,000.
You have somebody to write it. I had talked to MML, and hopefully they were putting together some programs for grant writing training. They're working on that.
For our fire
For
department.
municipality, us in general, and I talked to Chief Fraser about it, and once we get some information from MML, our encouragement would be to send a staff or someone there to get this training. Hopefully we get the software from them.
Mr. Maybe had mentioned in a discussion about hiring a grant writer for help our city write grants, so I don't know what's coming with that.
The last I know about that, we were looking for help from a grant writer that had worked with the municipality of Belding. But we really, at this point, have not made contact with her. Her name is Michonne. And Kirk Mabey and I sat in the brewery for 2 hours waiting on her one day and found out later that she canceled and we didn't know.
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Things are going on.
Good.
Slow.
Okay, any other, I think we're moving on. Everyone is set with the budget?
I think so.
Other questions?
Are we going to talk about streets in this? Let's keep that in mind. The local streets proposed in the budgets here. wanted to talk about getting some pedestrian crossings, sidewalk. I don't know if we discussed any of that.
We hadn't, it wasn't on the agenda for discussion.
The mayor and I had talked about the possibility of putting a dedicated millage up as a vote, because the community has talked about wanting one sidewalk and 2 better roads. And we were actually, you probably remember, trying to get a number from Mr. Taylor on like how much money would it take over how much time based on the PACER rating, like how much money would it take, and then we could translate that into money over time with millages, like a 5-year or 7-year, and then we could put it on the ballot for people to vote on. We talked about doing one for roads and then a separate one for sidewalks, because people keep talking about they want sidewalks. And then they could either vote them both in, vote them both down, vote one in and not the other.
Where did,
But
no,
Linda just started, she got the PACER rating, but we don't actually still have an amount of money.
Global Street from 2
So-
to 3.
So Tom, where would that be included,
That
the
didn't help?
painting? Is that in traffic services?
You have a
Maintenance.
tab,
Painting.
local streets
Where would
are-
any budgeted street painting for like
Major
traffic
streets are 10.
crossings, that kind of thing? Where would that be included in the budget, if it were included?
It would be in major or local streets.
Would that be considered the maintenance, right?
Materials, yeah. Material expense for the paint, yeah.
Can we afford to put some crosswalks along the streets?
well,
I think that's not about money, isn't that about like where they tell us they're supposed to go?
No, we'll be doing crosswalks downtown here this year. Only on the cross streets going this way, not across Main Street.
Not across Main Street?
No.
Oh. Is that a budget item that we can't afford it, or is there something we can or cannot do? Is there a rule against it, or?
Are you talking about the thing that would sit in the middle of the
No,
road?
just the stripes
A
across.
painted crosswalk.
Painted cross.
Yes.
Oh, we can certainly do that.
okay,
Folks
that
will
what you're-
appreciate it, yeah.
just to paint the crosswalks now going across.
Going across
the
Main
whole
Street, you're
thing.
saying, like at each end?
Yes.
From where to where?
From one side of the street to the other.
Okay,
But where on the Main
I
Street?
would think that's.
She's talking beach and Maple.
beach to Maple?
I'll let somebody else know.
I guess our downtown from like the brewery to,
Well, that's something that the council will have to vote on.
Right, obviously, but we're trying to get some clarification on what she's talking about.
yeah.
We're just having a discussion about
But
it.
I have to tell you that it won't stay,
Okay.
No.
because you're driving across it this way.
Right.
Usually lines are going with traffic so that they last. If you're driving over the line, especially with the kind of traffic that we get downtown, it won't stay there.
So it's the kind of thing that if it were to be put in place, it would have to be painted once a year?
It would at least twice a year.
Twice a year?
If not twice a year.
Is there a material that would last?
There is some 3M stuff out there that's very
Pricey?
expensive.
And you'll cut it off every winter with a snowplow.
Yes, you
Oh, yeah,
So you're better to use the cheaper stuff and just keep repainting?
yeah.
Because it's
Can't win.
something we can do every year. I don't just put it in the budget to do that every year.
Sure.
It seems to
But
be,
that's gonna be, what's it cost us to go the direction we're going right now?
Well, right now, in traffic services for materials, that's not counting labor, you got $3,600, but that's material for
That's just,
everything,
That's paint.
and blacktop for patching.
no,
I was gonna say, isn't that just
On
paint?
traffic, that's
that's just paint.
traffic.
So we're talking 3,000 plus labor for,
in major
Each year.
streets. that-
And labor's probably an equal price? Were you talking about painting?
You
Well,
would have,
I do the painting, so,
you'd have basically a truck, there's equipment rental there, and then you'd have the paint sprayer, and then 2 people, or possibly 3.
3 people.
Yeah.
could we work on a budget or get a cost for that? I don't know, how do you feel about that, Barry? You're down
Well, I
there.
would love to have one, we get money for it.
Just to strike, so,
Traffic services, maintenance.
help.
Traffic
You have to
services.
understand that my entire staff is 5 people.
Services.
And every time you add something, something else is going to suffer.
Right, something else they
What's
can't
the
do.
difference between this and that? Two different.
Right now, we can't keep up with everything we have to do. And if you add things, that means everything else is gonna suffer.
Sure.
So just keep in
Means
mind
we
that.
mow less at the cemetery.
Unless we throw in budget for another.
So when people are complaining that the cemetery didn't look as nice
I
as it
would love to
should.
have one more person, at least.
14K right there. What was that for the contract?
Did you find that you had any savings over this winter, the mild winter, to, for
Probably our lines.
less snow plowing?
Or salt, we shouldn't have used the salt that we did.
Yeah, we came in on budget this year.
Yeah, because I was gonna say like 2 years ago,
Like
3 years ago, oh my gosh, we ran out of salt.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly.
I don't know offhand, I haven't looked at it, I'd have to look
Haven't
it
done
up.
the final amendment, update, whatever you call that.
Material-
Reconciliation.
So,
Was
with
that
what we're
one
hearing,
something we might wanna look at some point, maybe trying to afford another DPW person for some of the projects, because they're overtaxed now, and we got things that need done.
that's something that the council has to take into consideration for, this requesting and stuff too. They have to add staff, it takes time, and
Well, and we gotta have money in hand.
it's only money.
Could we get a bid from a private person to do that, a private team? Just look at it, get 3 bids and see what it,
I actually did that a couple of years ago, and we couldn't even compare.
really,
It's much more,
I was gonna say, it's probably cheaper to do it in-house.
very much. So,
The other
basically,
problem is, we're all 50. Basically.
you're all 50?
Right, Marty?
What was
Me
that
too.
supposed to mean?
we're getting old.
At some point, we're gonna have to
I
replace
was gonna
them.
say, I don't know if Joanne would take that as a compliment. I don't think she's 50, is she?
Yeah, she's older than I am.
Is she really?
Yeah, she's up there.
She's sprightly.
All right, we gotta get back on track here. We get some age something going on here.
Heard somebody.
I think I cut Peter off of it. I don't think there was
Anyway, so I guess, it's something to think about. If the council's consensus is you want the crosswalks, then I guess we'll have to have time come up with a cost and go accordingly.
See how it goes. It's just, you're out there at night, I don't know how Perry feels, but I've sat at the brewery before and people are going, I would think the city could afford a couple of lines, and I'm going like, well, I don't know, apparently not. But it would be nice to say, at least have it presented as this is a nice place to cross.
What's the consensus?
I'd like to hear how much it cost.
The only thing I have to throw out there is if you put crosswalk lines across Main Street, now you're liable for it.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah.
If you're
Because
designating,
we're encouraging them to walk there.
right,
Absolutely.
you're
How do you do that?
designating that a crosswalk, so you increase your liability.
Does our insurance go up
Only
or
nobody
not?
sues them.
I don't think it would affect the insurance rates any.
Well, and if they put the
It's
light,
just another liability that we would.
a lot of them have those, like,
What's the
the
likelihood
thing,
we
and
would
it
be sued anymore?
tells you when to walk.
If we
You
had
don't
lines,
need
we didn't
stop-
have
you don't need
lines.
crosswalk lights.
They might say, well, you should have had lines so that the traffic knew that there was a
Right,
crosswalk.
but if you have the
Can't win.
line, generally you have the crosswalk light that tells
I've
people
had this
when to walk.
conversation with Jason a few times, and he actually is in favor of crosswalks. He thinks they're a great idea. But he said, you can't just put it at one particular place on
Yeah,
Main
right,
Street.
which one?
You'd have to have at least 2, because you can't give to the community that this is the only place that you are really concerned about the traffic going across. So you'd have to have a minimum of 2 on Main Street.
And at that point, is it illegal to cross anywhere else?
Pardon?
At that point, is it illegal to cross anywhere else?
That I don't know.
Only
Like,
if
does
you
it
have
become
to
quote unquote
walking.
jaywalking?
Yeah, an ordinance.
No, I mean, does
I
it,
don't think we have a jaywalking
Well, that's
ordinance.
what I mean,
Okay.
it'd be something that's in the ordinance, then you'd have to have a sign saying no jaywalking.
I lived in the city for a while,
Thrown
so.
out.
But Jason is actually in favor of the ones that have the sign in the middle of the road. That's what he
Mr. Mayor,
thinks are good.
Go ahead.
if the council wishes at a later date that we need to do this, we will make it happen, but it's really not a discussion for a budget meeting.
Yep.
We're not ready.
Time-wise,
Yeah, just, we were trying to figure out, is it a money problem, is it a,
Money/labor.
well, or is it a, like, legality, structural?
that's for you guys to figure out.
It's only money.
I'll make it happen if the
Okay.
council says it needs to happen.
So we should bring this up at a regular meeting.
Regular meeting,
Yep.
put it on the agenda.
Okay, everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Okay. No, not that I know. No.
Do you
Are
have
we
any
ever?
comments about the DDA budget?
We did last year.
Were we having another meeting on the budget?
Yeah, we're not voting on it tonight, right?
No, this is just for, to go over it, answer any questions. If you want something changed,
Oh.
I'll change
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
At the April
It's a
meeting,
discussion meeting.
yeah.
yeah.
So, on the,
Any changes you want made, I'll make. I'll bring it back to you in April if you have any changes, but May it has to be voted on.
That's why she
Right.
needed a number on the library.
And
piece.
then they would have, of course, I would want to have the new manager look this over, so he has input on this budget also before we would
I
pass it.
don't think I have any.
You can't.
I was gonna say, don't we have to pass it by May?
Yeah, the charter says it has to be passed at the May meeting.
State never does their budget on time, what do they do to us?
Well, we can pass it, and then when
It can be
the,
amended,
right, when the new city manager comes, we can do a budget
and we
amendment.
amend like quarterly, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
give or
Okay, I
take.
just want him to have a fair
For
shot.
audit purposes, I have to have it voted on in May.
Tell him it's our fault. Okay, is there any other business to be brought before we?
how do we get the real budget for the DDA?
Huh?
You got $1,500.
Yeah, well, how do we get that so that that doesn't reset every year?
That's next one.
Oh, I see what you're, no, his question is, because right now apparently if you don't spend it, it
You
gets,
can't do nothing but water poses.
okay, what you're, let me see if I understand what you're saying.
$30 you get.
Is what you're saying is at 1,500, if you don't use the 1,500, it gets swept out and put
Yes.
back in the general fund.
Yes, that's
So,
everything.
what he's asking is there a way that the DDA budget, that like if they were to spend 1,000, but not use the last 500, if they could roll it into the next year? And what would that, well, is there a process that we could make that happen so they could do that? Like, we obviously are doing it for the fire department and DPW and so
No,
on.
we're not.
Well, then how are we budgeting for trucks and,
That's total two separate things. Those are specific line items we're saving money for. The way it's written here is that your budget is X amount of dollars, you spend it that year. If you don't spend it, it gets swapped out. Unless you have a funded item, like the DDA used to have a payment deal where they imposed taxes on themselves, and they had like a debt there they had to pay. And they would accumulate money to save, to pay that. You know, basically, it's like all the other accounts in the city that if you don't use it, you lose it.
so,
How do we increase
So
what the
he-
DDA can use?
so here's,
What you would have to do is have the DDA request to the council that more money. You would want more money, and then it would be the DDA's responsibility, basically, to come up with a budget to show why they needed that, and then to spend it for that fiscal year.
I was gonna say, and then beyond that, couldn't they create a chunk where, like, let's say there was a $3,000 sign you wanted to buy, and you said we'd like to take $500 out of our budget a year for the next 6 years and put it in an account until we can buy that sign. Like,
That
that's
would
a
be the
thing
same-
you could do, right?
That would be the same thing that we would do with the police or the fire colonel gear. You would have to request a designated amount of money set aside each year till you hit the dollars you needed to buy a sign.
So if there's a thing that you wanted to do, that you, well, prioritize,
Go ahead.
right? I mean, prioritize, and then set your amount of money that you want to set aside, and then do you need a motion from council to allow them to do that, or is that a thing you
Yeah.
can just do?
It has to be approved by the council.
Approves their budget, but it also, both the council has final say
Right.
over it.
So the way that you would fix it is, you would set it up with Deb, and then come to the council and have us vote on it.
request it through the council, and we would vote on it, and she would set it aside.
Right? Am I understanding that correctly? Is the process? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, but that don't make sense too. In other words, I know what you're saying, but in other words, you're saying that if we want anything, we have a budget and we're not gonna get it for 6 years?
Well, it depends how much it costs and how much you're wanting to budget.
What you have left over, you set aside. Because I suggested that we take what money was left over from the fire department to put into this equipment replacement for a new truck. And I thought everybody here would say, oh, we have a canary, especially the manager. He said, we can't do that. So that all the accounts have to sweep out. Now, if you request X amount of dollars of your budget from the DDA to be set aside each year so you can
Whatever your thing
put a new
is.
sign in, or put new benches in, or replace benches every year, then you would just request that and show what you wanted to do with it, and then it would be the will of the council, and then Ms. Burnett would set up your savings account.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's not palatable, but that's kind of the way it's gotta go. I understand your
Yeah.
frustration. I'm on the DDA too.
But I mean, just requires some, like, you need to make a list of what are your priorities, how much do they cost, and then decide, like, how much per year do you want to put out on them on a time frame. I mean, I get that, you know, you're dealing with pennies, but,
$1,500 is all they get.
right, that's what I'm saying, I get you're dealing with pennies, but if the issue is that you're not spending all of your money and it's getting swept out, like, that would be one of the ways of dealing with it, is saying,
You'd have to earmark that.
I want X amount earmarked for this thing.
Clear as mud?
Fair as mud. I know what you're saying, but I still think there should be a way of the DDA being able to do something other than having a monthly or a quarterly meeting.
No. See, the DDA used to tax themselves, all the business people in town, and they set aside money. That's how you got the streets paid.
Well, and don't some communities have dedicated millages for the DDA, like a quarter mill or something?
I don't know.
They can capture millage from other entities, like the library. I'm not sure how that
Because I think
works,
Rockford
but-
has some sort of, you should talk to them, because I remember when I talked to them about how do they pay for their community event stuff, and they have something with their DDA and something with their chamber, that they have a mechanism for funding that,
Yeah. Maybe the manager will have some good ideas.
and you could, you know, pitch something.
I know when he's saying the new manager, hopefully he'll have a lot of good insight for us.
Or she.
Okay, any other business?
I did have one other thing. We talked, the last
Late.
meeting. What?
Go
About
ahead. It's a major joke.
about the water sewer rates, if we wanted to do I'd given you 3 options,
Right.
the third, the half,
Well, the one was not even an option though, because it didn't
Right.
even meet our cost, so
Right.
that's just silly.
Right, so I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that, if you wanted to make a decision tonight to put together the budget for that,
I think on the last one, we were leaning towards the higher one,
doing the
but then we
full-
were even talking about maybe tacking on another penny or two.
I just need to know what direction you want to go.
The highest of the three,
So
What
doing
page
the
will we-
full,
Yeah.
the full increase this year. Full
that's
out
what
this
we
year.
were leaning towards, if I recall. Am I
Yes.
wrong?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we even had a few of us that were discussing adding an extra penny or two to try to maybe inch us ahead a little.
More.
Right.
Okay, that is on page 71, I believe. And it shows here the water rate, the current is, it's $3.68, and then the new rate will be $4.50. And water. Okay, you're telling us that this one that's printed, for just the water, the $4.56. That is the current rate, and that's just, we're falling behind?
Yep, the current rate is $3.68.
Okay,
According to the rural water rate study that they did, they said if we upped it to the $4.56, that will cover our loan, cover our costs, and, if we did the full amount, it would give us a little wiggle room, very little, to do improvements.
And then we were saying, that I think Molly started the conversation about what if we added another 2 cents? I think somebody did the math and it came out to, I can't remember, $6,000 or something.
I don't think it was that much,
Okay.
yeah.
And the debt,
So these,
sewer rate.
yeah, so then, and then the debt service would cover the loans.
Right.
How would it be, the new rate is $4.56. If we round that up to basically $4.60,
Mm-hmm.
and then go down to our sewer rate, which is the new rate, is $6.71, if we round it to $6.75.
5.
Mm-hmm.
Then leave your, the current water debt and the sewer debt the same request.
Yep. That'd be awesome.
Like, could we
Well,
kind of nudge that way?
Yeah,
it's like Andy Booth used to say, we're raising the rates a little bit, you
Yeah.
just keep taking one finger at a time.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you end up cutting the arm off.
So better
Let's
to
just do the arm and, we're gonna get beat up no matter what, so.
may as well make it worth it.
Well, and there's a whole lot of like, it needs to be done.
Right.
Yeah.
And that whole death of 1,000 cuts, just do it and be done.
Let's run with this if everybody's agreeing.
Right, they're not gonna notice the 4 cents and the 4 cents on each.
Right.
They're not gonna notice that.
We're not, and it's gonna make a big impact for us.
Yeah.
Right.
So, even the 4 cents on the sewer, if we,
And I'm okay, people can come yell at me.
at $6.75, raise it up 5 cents each.
I'm so down with that. I teach teenagers, come yell at me.
Well, yeah, we raised each water and sewer 4 cents. We can always adjust it higher if we need to at a later date.
But that seems like a good place, right?
Yeah, because then that goes on the usage, so.
Yes.
Right.
Based on usage
Yeah.
only. The debt stays the same no matter what. That's gonna go up.
Part of it is that you were saying that everybody's washing machines and so on have gotten so much more efficient, that we're just using less water.
Right.
That'll offset.
Yep.
They'll just pay for something hydrants you don't have to pay for.
That should probably be an action item on your, at your
Yes.
council meeting.
That would have to be.
But when you're adjusting, you could put those numbers in.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be on the, in May, when you approve the
Approve the
budget,
budget.
you do the fee scale, so that will be approved through that.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Go ahead.
What Tom and Russ Johnson, no, right? Presented 2 meetings ago, I guess it was. Now, they were creating a budget to get us, keep us up. We're not really caught up, I understand that, even with the money from the loan. But the money that they were saying we need to spend on their budget that reaches out into the future, do we have that budgeted somewhere to do that? Or does this money that we're talking about from the new sewer rate going to help cover that?
That's gonna help cover that. Right now, we're budgeting $50,000 to $60,000 per year just for plant maintenance costs, and that's supposedly replacing
Okay.
what breaks.
And that,
That was sort of my question earlier, when I was saying, like, are we in a place where we're getting caught up, or do we have to try to find another place to get more revenue?
With this USDA money, that's huge.
Right.
Big jump.
As a rehab plant, that's gonna get us very close to where we really should be anyway.
Okay. That was my question.
Right, and then the next few years, Russ, we haven't figured out the new capital improvement plan yet,
Okay.
but within the next few years, we'll be able to replace whatever's left over,
Sure.
I would guess.
okay,
If we
that's,
budget 50 or 60,000 a year.
and
Okay.
we are doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus
But
this,
I'd like to keep doing that.
Right.
every year.
well,
Yes.
this 4 cents increase per thousand will help.
That'll help us.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Anybody, anything, Mr.
One
Of
more.
course you do.
I got a real confusing one to throw out at you. I've talked to Linda about this. My wife, being a librarian, has put me to work looking over old newspaper clippings. In looking at those clippings, it appears, and we still have to find this out for sure, but it appears that the actual millage that was passed for the library is still at a half mil. Deb, I know this is going to drive you nuts. The other half mil has been allocated from the general fund every year. My wife has been under the impression, because of the paperwork she gets from the state, that we have an actual 1 mil millage.
See, I've had that conversation with her several times.
It appears that we do not.
That's what I thought.
If you can't find it in the records anywhere, I want to find it so we know. Well, here's the complicated part. Headley, of course, has reduced the library income from the taxation by 12%.
That's the Headley rollback.
Yeah, so they only, instead of getting 1 mil, they're only getting .877, whatever it is.
Yeah, 0.88.
Close enough. So the question is this: if we are only actually taking a half mil, and we're giving supposedly another half mil, first of all, the question is, we could, don't have to, we could give a full half mil rather than an equal .88 mil as a council, if it's not actually something that we are mandated by an action of the council somewhere in the past, which it appears at this point we are not. And so it's really up to us. You know, it's not a lot of money. It's just a matter of, are we doing it right? Should we actually try to pass that 1 mil?
I was going to say, I guess this would be my thing. I would want to know, what is the library's plans going forward of things like, are they going to be a district library with Solon? Are they going to dissolve away from Solon? Are they going to become KDL? Because all of those things come with different millage requirements.
They do.
And so I would want, as a council, a decision from them about what is their intent. I mean, I'm very supportive of the library. Libraries are a big deal to me.
Yes, you are.
But I want to know, like, where are you headed?
They don't know.
Before I start trying to, like,
The one thing they do
engineer it on
know,
the back end.
One time.
the one thing they do know, they need money.
Okay, but this is, you know, and
So-
I will be happy to go talk to them too, but they need to make some choices about what do they want to look like going forward, so that we can then take action to support that, whatever that thing might be.
Another thing to consider is that by not having an actual millage in place, we put the library in somewhat of a jeopardy situation, because we can take that money away anytime.
And again,
Half of it.
they just need to come ask us.
Not that we would. But I'm just saying, other communities have put the millage in place because
Right.
it gives stability to
Well,
the system.
if you do KDL, they have to have a dedicated amount as a millage.
I will say right now that it's very doubtful that
Okay, I'm
they
just
would
saying,
ever do that.
as
It's
an
too expensive.
example,
Yeah.
whatever, or if they do a district library with Solon, because I know I was part of that process when they
Yeah.
tried to do that. Again, there has to be a dedicated millage that the people vote on.
That's right.
I'm
Well, it's,
not opposed, but we need some kind of thing
I
for
just
the
wanted to
library.
stir up the pot, Jerry.
yeah, good job. They're getting their money, aren't they? I wouldn't complain.
I mean,
We're getting nowhere.
is this not a
No,
fair?
it's not a thing that we're going to settle in probably a
I mean, Deb, am I
year,
right
but-
when I'm saying really we need the library to say to us, like,
Yep.
this is what we're looking for?
Yep.
And we also need to research what actually the people voted on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But beyond that, if they don't feel like they're getting whatever the people voted on, like,
Well,
We
it's
haven't
up to
heard
us.
from them.
It's up to us, as a council, to say, oh, you're getting .88 mils with the Headley, we're going to match that. Or, you know, oh, 1 mil would
but
be
isn't
this
it
much.
up to them to
Okay.
ask us?
Several years ago, Mr. Humming did that research.
Yeah, I read it.
I remember there was discussions about that, and everything was set the way it was. I think Mr. Hall also. I remember several paying attention but not paying attention in years past. Because there was several things on
I thought
where the
Mr.
money
Howell
was
admired.
coming
I should have asked.
I'll bring some of that up, the paperwork, so you can see it.
from. No, don't give it to me. You give it to the clerk.
Okay, I'll give it to
I
you.
know there is something on that, 439 or 4039 that you looked
Yeah.
at. Something showed up in 2013 for a library millage that I never saw before, and it said it was a voted millage. There was no voted millage in 2013, so I've got to find out from this. Well, I don't know if I can get a hold of the old special to get that information, but I know it showed up when I went and signed it, and I didn't sign it because I didn't know that they had what happened, but I ended up, we had to sign it for, paid from the county for some reason.
Well, we got a lot of time to get there once they decide what they're gonna do and let them come and request to us.
Unless we really are not doing something we say we're doing, then we should be.
They'll let
doing
us
that,
know,
but-
I'm sure.
They don't know either,
No good.
honestly.
We win.
Oh,
Okay.
you're right, Jerry, you're right.
I know.
I'm with you. We should do it right.
Okay, we've already, any other business to come?
I don't know if this is the time or not, but I think we need to start looking for some money for that parking lot on Maple and Second Street.
Which one?
The-
We have a lot of parking lots that need.
Well, that is part of our master plan, and hopefully we can get started
April
on that.
second.
Southwest,
Oh,
We're
we're
gonna
getting,
cross some other new amphitheaters projected.
Gonna go,
Southwest one.
we're getting,
And that was one of the things that they were talking about, that had to be thrown in as a grant, but it had to be done at the same time.
Yep.
Right.
we can't touch
Get
it.
in the grant, that saves us from having to pay for it.
The
Right.
reason we can't touch it, the reason being, if you're writing a grant, and if we've put money aside or discussed it or talked about it, then that could null and void the grant.
okay.
So just,
That we're just waiting on the CDC to.
yep,
The other thing I wanted to ask was, we have no money invested in Chase Bank. And I don't know why we can't throw a few
We used
CDs in there or something, because they've got that beautiful downtown building, and they're paying downtown taxes. They're taking care of 2 parking lots, which are extremely useful to our city. And they're well-maintained, they're great for the theater, they're great for other downtown businesses, and it'd be nice if we threw a few bucks their way and maybe had a better relationship with them or whatever. It just seems sad that we don't invest in that bank.
they used to.
So can we,
That's a management decision, not us.
And they go,
Invest with them for a number of years, and had just about everything with Chase Bank. And when we have a new treasurer, not a different one, she went around trying to get interest rates and whatever from all of the banks. Chase would not even speak to us about it. They wouldn't even give us a quote. And that's when we pulled everything out and went to Independent, and I think we have some things at Choice One as well.
We also have some loans from Independent, I believe.
I think those are paid back, if I
Yeah,
remember
we-
correctly.
From where?
independent.
Independent, we had some loans from them.
Choice One, we have some,
Yeah,
but Independent has our bank accounts, and Choice One does too. And I believe with Chase, there was a thing, right now, we don't pay bank fees to either one of those, and Chase wanted to charge
And they were
fees.
charging
For
fees.
Choice.
Fees,
That's when we
and,
looked into
there's
different.
some money savings.
Yeah, the other 2 banks, we pay no bank fees.
is it possible just to go over and have a chat with them and say, we would like to know if we can at least support you and support each other with something?
That might be a thing for them to manage or
No.
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, we had this with Vanderhyde when we were buying police cars and they would get frustrated. I had the owner frustrated with me, and I said, you're not the cheapest bid, by a lot. Not even by a couple $100 bucks. By a lot.
But when you look at the big picture and think about how much property taxes and what they've investing,
Yeah.
what they're investing in our city.
And I bought a minivan from Vanderhyde, but
Well, Independent paid, tax.
when it's when it's a $6,000 or $7,000
Okay,
difference.
any other business?
Just a
You all set? You? Tammy, have any
I'm
other?
good.
You don't have anything?
Run right out here.
Well done. Okay, at this time, we'll move on to council comments. We've all made a bunch of them, so I hope we're done. Mr. Hopkins?
Well, I don't know. Comments on that, maybe, I see some money going towards the BDA so we can actually do something.
Yep, I know, that's a tough deal.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Powell?
Just one other thing I wanted to say was, I noticed our police protection, the price of our police protection is going up. And, in the budget here, as parking tickets, fees are going directly to the sheriff department. But I was in here one day, and apparently we collect those, parking ticket fees for the sheriff. So, and don't we get anything back on collection fee or?
Yeah, we get the local parking ticket, we still get that.
It's still just divvied up.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of money, I think it was like $300.
Yeah.
But that, the only parking tickets stay here. Other traffic tickets, like speeding and all that, we don't get any of that.
We don't
Just
get
the parking tickets.
We don't get a third of that, like the state broke it down, third for the state, third for the county, third.
We get nothing from the tickets.
Well, most PD wrote on the county statutes anyway, so.
Could make a mint off that fire hydrant for a brewery. People park in front of that, I'm like, how do you not know you can't park in front of the fire hydrant?
Takes the punishment.
I will say this about the money that, I'm just trying to chime in on what Rose had to say. When the sheriff's department's going up somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5%, am I wrong?
3.
And according to what we were looking at when we changed, the police department was going up somewhere in the neighborhood of 4%.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk to the sheriff's department and see if we can't cut some corn somewhere, but they are going up at a much slower rate.
Yep.
Take that thing. Mr. Condon?
Just thank you to Deb for all the hard work, and thank you to Marty and Tom and Linda and Deb and everybody for answering a million questions.
Well done.
Okay.
Next time we're going to get you.
I too, there's a lot of work within this budget that you don't see. You know, I put this together before, and there's always that wish list, and it always gets whacked, and, it's kind of disheartening. But I think we've made some ground today, raised the water rates. And, we want to look at future things down the road. As you said, you've got today's money and you've got 2016 and 2018's money. It's going to cost more to do business in another year. We do what we can, hopefully hold the line. And with that, thank
Jerry?
everyone for here.
You were gonna talk about my vacation time?
Oh, that's okay.
It's fine.
Mrs. Christensen has accrued several days of additional vacation or
52
vacation,
hours.
and she cannot use it before her anniversary date, and normally that would be a request to the manager. Seeing how she's interim manager, she had requested it to me, and I don't have a problem with it. Anybody else?
I got the email too. She sent it to both Jerry and I. I didn't have any problem with it, but I told Jerry I didn't want to email her until I talked to him. And I
The only
did.
thing I would say is, don't let it drag out.
Yeah. Yeah. Take your time.
Use it up, that's what it's for. And
Yeah.
there's circumstances now.
Do something
With
fun.
that, I will entertain any other business.
Oh, did you need a straw poll on taking the tax thing to appeal?
We really can't do that.
You can't discuss that tonight because it
Okay.
wasn't on your agenda.
Because-
Okay.
It'll be on next
It
month's
has to
agenda.
go to the council. Because we're short-staffed, there's persons missing, there's some things we cannot address.
Okay.
We're staying adjourned.
Okay.